Hello, my name is David Pleasance. I'm Joint General Manager of Commodore UK, and my responsibility is the sales and marketing for Commodore UK. I've been with the Commodore for almost 10 years now, and during that period have had 2 years of looking after Commodore's international business in those countries, 37 countries, where we do not have offices. And I've also been a Vice President of Consumer Products in Commodore USA. Welcome to the inaugural publication of CD Gold.
Hello, my name's Jolyon Ralph. I work for Almathera, and we're currently developing the CD32 title Video Creator, which allows you to put computer-generated graphics on top of your music CDs. It is unlikely that Microcosm will ever appear on CDTV. Very few companies are now developing software for CDTV. Most companies are only developing for the CD32. The only chance at CDTV, it is unlikely that Microcosm will ever appear on CDTV. Very few companies are now developing. The CD32 has an interface marked AUX, which is a dual-purpose keyboard and serial port. It is possible to wire that up with a small adapter to the serial port of an Amiga 4000 or any other computer, and use communications software to transfer files from one machine to the other. Also, by the time you read this, there will be CD interfaces for the CD32. By the time you read this, there will be interfaces for the CD32 allowing you to connect parallel ports, for example using the PARNet cable to transfer files from one machine to the other. Not yet, but the CD32 has a full expansion interface on the back, which means that an accelerator would be very simple to interface onto the back of a CD32. Commodore have developed a CD-ROM interface for the A1200, but probably won't launch it now. It's worked out that it was too expensive to launch, when the interface and the drive alone would cost more than a CD32.
Hi, I'm Jim Hawkins. I've been programming Amigas for longer than I care to think, certainly since before they came on the market. I also programmed CDTVs before they came on the market, and I started programming CD32s before they came on the market, so I've always been in there at the dangerous edge of things. CD32's a great little machine. Some of the things that I've done in the past that you might have come across are Music Maker for CDTV, and the CDTV versions of the Asterix discs, which run on the Mac, on MPC, but best of all on the Amiga. And I'm just doing the CD32 conversions with specially enhanced graphics, so you'll be able to get those, I hope, in the not too distant future. So that's where I'm from, been around. I wish I knew everything about how to program the Amiga, but nobody does. If they tell you that they do, well, they're either making things up, or they're a so far undiscovered source of wisdom. So we'll have a go. Great little machine. Hope you enjoy it as much as I do. There's no chance whatsoever, as I see it, of there ever being an MPEG module for CDTV. It was, of course, the original multimedia player. It had lots of lovely things about it, like a nice big fat black box, but what it unfortunately had, because it was just launched slightly too early, was the old ECS chipset. Had it had AGA in it, the story might have been different, but there's no going back on it. The future has got to be AGA and AAA, and you can't see any reason at all why Commodore would even consider building a unit specially for CDTV. I know this is tough for CDTV owners, but then what you still have is that very, very nice and now very, very cheap CD-ROM player that's also a computer, so I don't think there's any hardship in that. Especially as CD32 is so cheap, what you get is a full video CD capability and a CD-ROM player for less than the price of quite a lot of scuzzy CD-ROM drives that are out in the general market. So no need to cry, but you're never going to get it. The truth is that you can't run very much software just connected across PARNet, because most of it will be doing other things. What you can do across PARNet, which is terrific, is you can get data from CD32 discs, CDTV discs, you can get it from PC CD-ROM style discs, you can get loads of information, but running programs themselves can be a big problem. For example, you're not really seriously going to be able to run things like Asterix, one of my titles, because it needs a pretty high data transfer rate to get the sound across. So what you will have is a great facility to get information, but you may not find that all programs work. Having said that, some games may work where they've just got a small load and not very much data which they're accessing. Perhaps they're going to go occasionally and get it. Then you might find it works, but you may have to do lots of tricks to get it going. So the answer to that is some things will work very successfully, some things won't work at all. And on the other hand, it's well worth connecting up because you can get loads of information. The CD32 was designed as and is a games console, so it doesn't have computery bits on the back of it, like floppy drive ports and RGB ports and serial ports. However, it's quite easy to expand it with some expansion units, and there are going to be several of these coming on the market. It won't be too long now before, for reasonably small money, you'll be able to stick floppy drives, connect serial things, connect parallel things to the CD32. In fact, it will be possibly for £100 or £150 possible to get all the basics for turning it into a fully fledged computer with a keyboard and with all the in-out that you need. So fitting a floppy is not immediately possible. You can't just stick one onto your CD32, but an expansion unit will enable you to put all sorts of things on. Maybe that you can put eventually second processors on, more memory, all sorts of expansion to turn it into a very powerful beast. On the other hand, it is already a pretty powerful little beast for most purposes if you stick a keyboard onto it. Floppy drive would be a minimum, but it's still got a 68020 processor, it's got 2 megabytes of RAM, and you get it for effectively less than the price of most PC double speed drives, CD-ROM drives, and it's a computer as well. So when people say, you know, PC things are cheap and Amiga things are expensive, the CD32 is fantastically good money. You can go out probably at the moment and buy a PC double speed CD-ROM SCSI or ID drive for about £150 to £200. For just under £300 you get a complete system. So it's worth getting one, worth getting an expansion unit, and you've got a very, very powerful little beast there.
I believe that there will be a continuing level of support from software publishers because as they do in many other formats, they develop for the top format, i.e. the most complicated format, for example PCs with 256 colours, which they will then develop for Amiga CD32 and Amiga 1200, and they usually will do a lesser version. For example, they'll do 600 version, and if they're doing CD32 titles, there's every possibility that they will be doing CDTV titles as well. Absolutely our intention. We believe that the Amiga platform, and in particular our 32-bit technology, is the most perfect vehicle that is currently available today for games playing. It is unquestionably the most superior system. The CD32 has a dual speed CD drive, which means that data can be transferred either at 150k per second, like our competition and like CDTV, or in fact it can also transfer data at 300k per second, which means that animations and motion video and so on and so forth are far superior on this machine. So unquestionably it is the programmer's ultimate challenge. Well, I'm kind of pleased that your view is that it looks like a toy. It is considered that games consoles, be they cartridge or CD based, are considered to be electronic toys. So if the design of our CD32 fulfills that criteria, then I'm very, very happy. In relation to your question regarding the education market, it's not as simple a matter as deciding what we would like to do in the education field. We spent a considerable amount of investment and resource over a number of years talking to all aspects of the education market with not a great deal of success. And my belief is that products like the CD32 are probably not destined in the early days for success in education. However, I'm convinced that they become a tremendous low-cost multimedia presentation tool, and as such they may well be used in school environments, as they well may be used in the business environment also. Well, we believe that with CD32 our only competitor is the Sega CD, which on a comparison basis, on specification wise, our product is considerably superior. We have, for example, 16.8 million colours and can have 256,000 on the screen at any one time. Sega's limitations are 64 colours. We have 2 megabytes of memory vis-a-vis the Sega's 128k of memory. We have the dual speed drive. We have Amiga's unique architecture. There's a number of aspects of this machine which are considerably more powerful, and not the least of course is the fact that we're using a 68020 EC processor, which is a 32-bit processor, compared to Sega's 16-bit 68,000 processor. Our belief